Welcome to the Common Gavel Podcast, the podcast all about the Maryland Masonic family. The Common Gavel Podcast features news and stories from all across the state of Maryland. Now, from the Grand Lodge of Maryland, here's your host, Director of Communications, Tom Foster.
Hello and welcome to the Common Gavel Podcast, the podcast all about the Maryland Masonic family. Happy 2019. Congratulations to all of our incoming officers all across the state. We wish you all good luck in the coming year. We just know it's going to be a great year in Maryland Masonry. The installation season is on, and the Grand Line is going to be installing, believe it or not, 28 lodges in 25 days. So if you see them, give them a big thanks for all they do to make Maryland Masonry all it can be. It's such a busy time of year, so let's get the show started. We'll hear from our Grand Master and our Deputy Grand Master.
Time for the Grand Master's message with the most worshipful Grand Master of Masons in Maryland, Brother Richard P. Nagel.
Can you believe it is already 2019? Whatever happened to Y2K and the fear of all computers failing? I was braving it on a cruise ship in the middle of the Caribbean, waiting for the engines to stop. As we all know, nothing happened, and the world kept spinning. This month, we'll be busy with conducting 25 installations. If you haven't received a Grand Master's pin as yet, stop by one of the many open installations and bring your family. We plan on a fun time as we install many new masters and a few retreads. Following the January installation cycle, we will have the regional meetings with much information and a time to share. Learn about marketing and keeping Masonry visible in society. Find out the new parts to the Masonic Academy as we explore the several liberal arts and sciences. Share what is working in your lodge that makes it one of the best in the state. Updates on the membership manager and ideas for dealing with inquiries that really work will be presented. They will be held all over the state, and you don't want to miss them. Check with your secretary as to time and locations. 2019 also brings the centennial celebration for the Order of DeMolay. On Thursday, March 21st, we will host a festive board to honor founding organizations and other important individuals. This event is for all Masons and Senior DeMolays. Tickets will go on sale the middle of this month and can be reserved by calling the Grand Lodge office at 410-527-0600 or emailing at office@glmd.org. A second festive board will be on Sunday, March 24th, following the DeMolay church service at the Maryland Masonic Homes at 3 p.m. Here we will pay tribute to individuals who helped form DeMolay and make it into the fantastic organization for young men that it has become. Information and reservations will also be available later this month. Last month I promised more information on the Grand Master's Gala, a night at the museum, on Saturday, July 27th. It will again be a formal event, and we will celebrate the bicentennial of the Grand Lodge Museum. Artifacts from the collection will be on display, and a raffle fundraiser will take place. The band for the evening will be the Mutual Fund Band. You can hear their music on YouTube. Terry Royce and his committee are working on making this a great event. Those who have visited the Grand Lodge in recent times may have noticed a new entranceway being constructed. We'll begin using it this month as a lodge member's entrance. The entrance enters along a new cement walkway with the sidewalk to the newly renovated stairwell next to the elevator. The main entrance will remain open for a few months and during events, but will be closed as the weather improves. The reasons for the entrance are efficiency for conditioning the air in the main entrance and being courteous to our guests that rent the facility. I look forward to greeting many of you as we travel the state, maintaining our uprightness in society and integrity as Masons.
And now, Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master, Brother Marlon L. Mills.
We are recording this on my favorite day of the year, the shortest day of winter. Soon the warm days of spring will be approaching and everything will be returning to beautiful. And that's exactly what I want to talk about today is our lodges And during my last podcast, I had the opportunity to speak about attendance in lodges. I truly believe that most of our lodges do their best for their members who attend. However, sometimes we need to step back and take a look at what we are really doing. I recently read a short talk bulletin from a long time ago about why brothers stop coming to lodges. This one was about weak to poor ritual, and I thought I would share a few words from this unknown brother to you. Why does Masonry insist so strictly on the exactness of its ritual? The reason is profound and not to be forgotten or ignored. True, it is the spirit and not the letter that gives the life to our ritual, but the letter gives body and meaning. The letter or words is the ceremony, and without a good ceremony, the spirit melts and is lost. This is true with religion, manners, and the arts. When well done and rightly used, it evokes the true spirit of Masonry. The mere opening of a lodge can create a Masonic atmosphere. It weaves a spell about us that makes fellowship gracious. It is a mystery that we all love without trying to analyze. The poet Tennyson once wrote, "There lives a master in the hearts of all Masons when a lodge is opened in due form and properly done." By the same token, if the opening ritual is blundered, slurred, or hastily done without dignity, the beauty is marred and the magic is broken. For this reason, we cannot be too careful in giving our ritual the dignity, solemnity, and mystic beauty it deserves. I'd like to take an excerpt from the article I recently read by Brother Jamie Hill from Camp Lodge number 154 that really drives this message home. In his article, Brother Hill said, "I would turn our attention to the impressive ritual work that many of our members have heard over time. We remember the worshipful master who gave us the first impressive lecture as if it were yesterday. The craft is built on remarkable work. Without impressive ritual, we are just another fraternity. Candidates seek what we promise today, and that is to improve themselves in Masonry. Instead, we shove a book in their hands and say, 'Here, memorize this and come back in 2 weeks.' The candidate then asks themselves, is that what Masonry really has to offer? This generation of men is not easily impressed. Our opportunity with them is short-lived. Masonry should be jealous of its ceremonies and symbols. When errors slip into the ritual, something precious is lost. Yet at the same time, mere formal and lofty ritual may become boring when our sublime truths are only repeated like words from a parrot. Nothing is more impressive than Masonic ritual and ceremony when properly done and smoothly performed. Dr. Joseph Newton, who was a teacher of Masonic fraternity, said, "Ritual is the dramatization of belief, hope, and spiritual dream. It assists the imagination by giving form to what otherwise would remain formless, presenting vivid mental images which lead to a reality that is often abstract and unreal. It is picture philosophy, truth visualized, and once expressing and confirming the faiths and vision of the mind. Wouldn't you hope your members and candidates felt that way about the ritual done in your lodge?" These thoughts were written in a short talk bulletin in 1928, but they still give us much to think about today. As we begin the installation process this year, these words from 1928 still hold true. The ritual of installing new officers and the charges given to the wardens and masters should leave a lasting impression as each lodge prepares to initiate, pass, and raise new men during their term. Our Grand Master has approximately 25 installations to do this year, all across the great state of Maryland, and I look forward to seeing each of you in these lodges as we grow Maryland Masonry. In closing, may I wish each of you the blessing of a healthy, happy New Year, and I look forward to our next podcast.
The podcast all about the Maryland Masonic family. This is the Common Gavel Podcast.
Folks, you may not know this, but Freemasonry has long been connected to the railroads, beginning with railways in England helping to spread Masonry to the outlying areas of that country, to the westward spread of Masonry in the 1800s here in America, thanks to the Transcontinental Railroad. But Masonry didn't just spread through the railroad by taking passengers from point A to point B. Many Masons helped build and run the rails throughout history, And that tradition, believe it or not, continues to this day. Here in Maryland, we have many Masons who work for the various rail lines, and joining me to talk about the traveling men of the trains, we have Brother Dave Martak. Dave, what's your role in the railroads?
I am a locomotive engineer, have been since 1994. My route is Washington to New York, also the MARC commuter trains as well.
And how did you get into Masonry?
Family history. Both my grandfathers were my mentors, both Masons. I put it on the back burner longer than I should have. And one day at work, I happened to see a Brother Len Elliott's ring, and mentioned to him that I had an interest in Freemasonry. And that conversation started that day and hasn't stopped yet. It's been a great experience.
There seems to be a kind of brotherhood on the rails, like there are in many other professions, firemen, police, and so on. Is that what attracts railroad men to our fraternity?
It's absolutely accurate. We work crazy hours. We work weekends, nights, holidays, 50, 60 hours a week. We are each other's family, and I think that relates to Freemasonry. And since I've been a Freemason for the last 2 years, I've got to know a lot of brothers who are Freemasons that I did not know were, but we spend time together on locomotives or on trains or in crew rooms, and we get to know each other pretty well. And becoming a Freemason has brought that conversation about, and the two brotherhoods combined are two of the greatest parts of my life.
So you're a relatively new Mason, and I understand you've recently gotten involved with DeMolay. How important has the family experience been for you as a Mason?
It's at the top. My family is the most important thing in my life, and my son, I look up to him as much as I hope he looks up to me. And DeMolay has made him an even better young man than he already was. He was top notch, but DeMolay, you do not find a bad young man. There is no hazing. There is no bullying. From day one, you were brought in as a brother, as a young brother, and they treat you as such. They have a lot of fun together, but this has definitely been a bonding for my son and I like we have never had before. So it is definitely at the top of my Freemason experience.
Dave Martak. He's a railroad engineer and a master mason. There's a great article about Freemasonry and the railroads, and it's linked in the podcast description.
If you've got questions, comments, or ideas for the Common Gavel, email us at podcast@glmd.org. Putting Freemasonry to work. Notes from the Quarry on the Common Gavel podcast.
As Master Masons, we learned that the trowel is an instrument used by operative Masons to spread the cement that unites a building into one common mass. We see the physical results of the trowel demonstrated every day in almost every building we pass by. But we don't see the trowel itself. We only see the result of the work the trowel has done. We see the completed structure, the cement cured, strong, and perfect. The trowel, having done the work of spreading the mortar from brick to brick, has been put away. Of course, we as free and accepted Masons are taught to make use of the trowel for the purpose of spreading the cement of brotherly love, which will unite us into one common band or society of friends and brothers. Consider how the symbol of the trowel plays into your own life and your Masonic experience. No doubt, you have brothers with whom you are very close. The cement of brotherly love between you is cured and perfect. The work of the trowel is done. Perhaps, too, there are new brothers with whom you are connecting actively, spreading that cement by helping them with ritual, connecting with them socially, inviting them to events, or mentoring them in some other way. In those cases, the trowel is at work to shape and perfect the bond between you. However, if your Masonic experience is typical, there are likely brothers who came into the lodge, perhaps they were even raised with you, and for one reason or another, the cement which bonded you to the fraternity did not do the same for them. In this case, that symbolic trowel did not spread enough brotherly love to create that perfect bond. An operative Mason has the luxury of completing a building, satisfied that his work has been done to the best of his ability. As free and accepted Masons, however, we have no such luxury. Even as the operative craftsman places his trowel in the toolbox, ours must remain at hand and spread the cement of brotherly love day in and day out. So how do we do this in a practical way? It's actually very simple. Consider the many brothers with whom you are acquainted, and consider the ones who haven't been to lodge in some time or with whom you haven't spoken in a number of weeks, months, or even years. Consider an old friend that you've simply lost touch with. Odds are, as you're hearing this, you're thinking of one or more people in that symbolic trowel and spread the brotherly love that it takes to bond them not only to you, but to Freemasonry in general. It will only take a few minutes and will likely start to form a bond between you and another brother, which can and will be perfected over time. Remember, brothers, keep that trowel in your hand at all times.
Writing the next chapter in Maryland Masonry, the Millennial Movement.
The millennial generation gets a lot of grief from those of us who may be a little more, shall we say, experienced in life. But more and more millennial men are joining Maryland Masonry, and soon they will be the leaders of our fraternity. To understand who these men are and why they chose to seek light in Masonry, we will each month bring you this new feature called the Millennial Moment. And this month we'll be talking to Brother Paul Cole. Paul is 33 years old and hails from Harford County. He was raised just last year by Mount Ararat Lodge in Bel Air, and he was just sworn in as the junior deacon of Stevenson Lodge in Darlington. Paul, let's start at the top. Why did you become a Mason?
I decided to become a Mason because my grandfather was a Mason. It's in my heritage. Also, I work with a very good Mason. At the time, we both experienced a tragic loss. So it got me thinking about life and death and what really mattered. And from the death of one of our coworkers, it turned into my Masonic journey. So there's death there and then, rebirth in Masonry. I am a member of a law enforcement agency. I am in the corrections department, so with a law enforcement agency.
You have done a lot of Masonic traveling. How many lodges have you visited?
I've been to 41 lodges so far.
Who has helped in your Masonic journey?
I got many
your
more
mentors? Who are the brothers that stand out?
In fact, one of the guys visit all 103 into the fraternity. If not, was Brother Jim Reinhardt. Excellent guy.
In your travels, I'm sure you've seen many things. Do you have some road stories to share?
Brother Kyle Weary from Harmony Lodge 53. He's one of the first brothers who got me in a horse and buggy involved from Bel Air to Cumberland. I was thinking about that. Also, ritualists. When I visited, very impressed by Bill Potomac 100. I had the privilege to meet a brother Keith Merritt, and great brother. He's really funny, and as a matter of fact, I was laughing all the way from Cumberland to Hagerstown.
What made you decide to become a Mason?
I would say, for me, I always try to put my money where my mouth is, and I wanted to be put to work. And Stevenson had a need, and there's a family connection there. But my wife is a past honor queen with Job's daughters. So after I got when Bethel was at Stevenson, that's where she was. I wanted to join. I didn't know where past honor queen, where I wanted to go. Was a member of Stevenson, but I decided I visited there, traveling, and I knew I'd be put to work. And so the value, that's when I realized ritual was my thing. I've met, and now I'm kind of a ritual nerd from all different backgrounds, all different ages, as much as I can, and all different occupations. And everybody has something of value to add. And in fact, there's definitely I used to be a terrible dresser. I could barely match clothes, but now I'm able to match clothes. I definitely want public speaking. I used to be terrified, but now. I received a compliment the other night that I'm an eloquent
From the Grand
speaker.
Lodge of Maryland,
I think I have a long way to go.
Common Gavel
I'm
Podcast.
Grateful and humbled by that.
Time for Tom's Trivia on the Common Gavel Podcast.
The value to
Time
me
once again
is
for
everything.
Tom's
It's
Trivia.
one of the
Last
best
month's question
things I've
was
done
another
other than
two-parter.
marrying my wife.
There's a certain red-nosed reindeer that has not
I
one
just love
but
the
two
fraternity,
big connections
and,
to Freemasonry.
My love for the fraternity grows
say
more
what
and
they
more
are?
each day. And
The answer,
I
of
hope
course, is that
I can
Rudolph
help
the
all my
Red-Nosed
fellow
Reindeer
brothers
was
or
recorded as a
whoever's
hit record
interested
by two
in the
separate
fraternity to
Masonic
take that
stars.
journey.
Gene Autry, who had the original recording, and Burl Ives, who recorded a classic version for the 1968 animated version of Rudolph that is still a TV classic. Both Gene and Burl were 33rd degree Scottish Rite Masons. Gene didn't even want to record Rudolph, but his wife urged him to do so. It's a good thing. It was his biggest hit ever, and is still the version by which all others are judged. Burl Ives not only sang the Rudolph theme song, he was the voice of Sam the Snowman from that Rankin Bass classic version of Rudolph. Our winner this month was Brother Brent Webb, Senior Steward and Lodge Education Officer of Hagerstown Lodge number 217. Thanks to everyone who participated. A great prize is on Brother Brent's way. This month's question stays with a music and a holiday theme. The traditional New Year's song, Auld Lang Syne, has a significant Masonic connection. Can you name it? If you know the answer, send it to us at podcast@glmd.org. And from all the correct answers, we'll choose a winner for a great Maryland Masonic prize. Want to wish you all a very happy New Year. I'll be getting back on the road with the Grand Line to help with installation, so if you see me, come up and say hi. Maybe you'll end up on the next Common Gavel podcast. Until then, make it a great year in Maryland Masonry.
If you've got questions, comments, or ideas for the Common Gavel, email us at podcast@glmd.org. If you'd like to become a Freemason, visit askamarylandmason.com. The Common Gavel podcast is produced by Rich Maynard Thurfield in association with the Grand Lodge of Maryland. Your host has been Tom Foster, and I am your announcer, Martin Persley.